Just because you're both working doesn't mean you can leave your little kid alone every day. I reported you.
When I came home exhausted from overtime, my neighbor suddenly barged in, yelling at me. I was startled and scared, but wait a second, I don't even have kids. What followed was the revelation of a huge secret my neighbor was hiding. My name is Karen, and I'm 29 years old. I live in an apartment with my husband, Tyler. We moved into this apartment when we got married. It's a family-friendly place with plenty of space, close to a park and a grocery store. The environment is nice and comfortable. The unit next door had been vacant for a while, but about a month ago, a newlywed couple moved in. The wife is expecting a baby. She's young and adorable. She even came by to introduce herself, and we'd chat a bit when we ran into each other. When I mentioned I was a midwife at the City General Hospital, she said she would have loved to deliver her baby there. I work in the maternity ward, and my husband Tyler is a clinical psychologist at the same hospital. We met at work and have been married for 5 years, but we don't have kids yet. Given our age, it's probably time to start thinking about it, but I've been so focused on my job that I haven't been able to take that step. Having kids would mean I couldn't fully dedicate myself to work anymore. I understand how tough it is to raise kids from watching my colleague, Sarah. Sarah is a single mom raising a 3-year-old boy. She had her baby without getting married, and since the father didn't acknowledge the child, she doesn't get child support. She works hard, putting her son in daycare, but her life is tough because she can't do overtime or night shifts. Even with a daytime-only schedule, she often has to leave early when her son gets sick and daycare calls her to pick him up. That day was another such day.
Karen, I have a favor to ask.
Sarah said so, looking at me apologetically. Whenever she relied on me like this, it was because daycare called her in to pick up her son.
It's fine. I'll handle things here. Go pick up Rick.
Therefore, even though I had a day shift that day, I ended up working late because we had back-to-back deliveries. Our apartment complex was usually peaceful at night, though you might occasionally hear a child's voice somewhere. After such a busy day, I just wanted to get home and crash. Thinking so, I hurried to get home. I finally arrived, unlocked the door, and was about to step inside. Just then.
Just because you're both working doesn't mean you can leave your little kid alone every day. I reported you.
A man suddenly barged in, yelling at me.
Excuse me? Who are you?
I pushed the man back as he tried to come inside. I caught a whiff of alcohol. Was he drunk?
Matthew from next door.
Oh, are you Emily's husband?
Yeah, how could you not know that?
Well, we've never met before.
I was familiar with his wife, Emily, but this was my first time meeting him. What a terrible first impression. I couldn't make sense of what he was saying. Matthew continued.
I've been watching you neglect your kid every day.
What did you say?
Every night, there's always a child wandering around by himself. You're the one who left him out, aren't you?
What are you talking about?
Leaving such a young kid alone at night? It's obviously child abuse. That's why I reported you.
Reported me.
I was the one who should be reporting this. This guy barged into my house yelling like this. He must be seriously drunk.
Just because you work doesn't mean you can neglect your child.
Wait a minute. That's not what's happening.
Huh?
We don't have a child.
What?
At that moment, Emily peeked her head in.
Matthew, what are you doing? Yelling at someone's home in the middle of the night. Karen, I'm so sorry. My husband comes home drunk almost every night.
Oh, I see. He's clearly misunderstanding something.
I could only offer a strained smile.
Are you sure you don't have a kid, Karen? You're not hiding one, are you?
Why do you think so?
I've seen the child too. Almost every night, a little boy around 3 years old is standing right in front of your door.
That can't be right. We don't have any kids.
If you do have a kid, why not just say so? Is it because you didn't file a birth certificate or don't tell me you kidnapped him?
Huh? That's absurd.
As I struggled to respond, I heard a familiar voice.
Karen, what's going on?
I turned to see Tyler walking up the stairs.
Are you just getting back now, Tyler?
No, I just ran to the store. What's going on?
Matthew from next door is yelling at me, saying we're neglecting a child.
Are you serious? A child? What is he talking about? Oh, but...
Tyler fell silent for a moment, deep in thought.
Now that I think about it, I have seen a child.
Really?
Before I could process what Tyler said, Matthew shouted again.
Stop playing dumb. It's obviously your kid.
Anyway, it's late and you're disturbing the neighbors. We're done here. Good night.
Tyler grabbed my arm, pulled me inside, and locked the door. From the other side, we could still hear Matthew yelling and banging on the door, but eventually, it quieted down. Why was I being accused of something so ridiculous? I felt completely drained. I collapsed on the floor. The Child Protective Services showed up the next afternoon. I happened to have the day off and was sleeping late because of everything that happened the night before. When I was just about to grab something to eat, they knocked on the door. Apparently, Matthew really did file a report. When I explained that we don't have any children, they left, but then the police came after that, which was even more shocking. They asked me a bunch of questions, but seemed to believe me in the end. I didn't know if the suspicion was completely cleared up, though. I couldn't believe we had the police called on us over a non-existent child. With all of that, my day off was completely ruined. Before I knew it, the whole day slipped by while I was just relaxing at home.
Oh no, I need to get dinner ready before Tyler gets home.
I thought. I stepped out of my apartment and headed to the nearby grocery store. Right in front of the door, I ran into someone I recognized.
Huh? Why are you here, Sarah? And little Rick too?
It was Sarah, holding a small boy by the hand.
Wow. Hi, Karen.
Sarah looked surprised to see me. I hadn't met Rick before, but she often showed me pictures and talked about him, so it didn't feel like our first meeting.
Do you live around here?
No. Well, I just had something to take care of nearby. It's gotten late, so I thought I'd grab some prepared meals from the store.
She seemed unusually flustered, not like her typical composed self. I wondered what kind of something brought her to this area.
Is that so? I live just over there in that apartment complex. You should drop by sometime.
Really? Oh. Well. I need to get this boy home and into bed. See you later.
Sarah hurried into the store and I didn't run into her again while shopping. As I prepared dinner, I kept an eye on what was going on outside. Every now and then, I opened the door to peek out, but there was no sign of the little boy Matthew had mentioned. It really seemed like a misunderstanding. Just as I was about to close the door, I noticed Matthew stepping out of his apartment next door and walking past my door.
Good evening.
I said awkwardly, deciding to at least offer a greeting. But he didn't seem interested.
So, you didn't get arrested, did you?
What are you talking about?
The cops showed up, didn't they?
They sure did. And so did CPS. I explained that there's no child in my home, and it seems like they understood.
Unbelievable. Still lying, huh? You criminal.
Excuse me?
Do you think it's normal for a small kid to wander around here night after night?
But I've never seen this child. I was home all day today, but I didn't see anyone.
Of course you'd say that. You're the culprit. You can spin it however you want.
There's no culprit or anything like that.
This time, Matthew wasn't drunk, but he was still throwing wild accusations at me.
Even Emily and your husband saw the kid. Why are you the only one who hasn't?
I have no idea.
I figured it out. That's your secret child, isn't it?
Are you kidding? That's ridiculous. Please stop all this nonsense.
None of this made any sense. Then I remembered. Emily had seen the child too.
I'll ask Emily about the boy next time I see her. She spends more time at home and probably knows more about it. I don't know any little kids around here, though.
As I said that, I suddenly thought of Sarah and Rick, whom I'd just met. A boy around 3 years old. He seemed about Rick's age. But it couldn't be Rick, right?
Emily's not here.
Matthew said flatly.
With neighbors like you neglecting kids, it's not good for her mental health while she's pregnant. I urgently sent her back to her parents' place. She'll be there until the baby's born.
Really? Has she already gone?
That meant I wouldn't even get a chance to clear up this misunderstanding for a while. I couldn't shake this uneasy feeling.
Just go turn yourself into the police right now.
I told you, I haven't done anything wrong.
Strangely, the little boy hadn't shown up again since then. Even Tyler said he hadn't seen him. However, the harassment from Matthew only escalated. He started putting letters filled with insults in our mailbox and sliding them under the front door. That wasn't all. Loud music blared from the next unit, he banged on the walls, and I even found trash and dead bugs outside my door. All of this wore me down. I couldn't sleep at night, and I had no appetite. I felt too drained to do anything, and even keeping up with housework was a struggle. My mental health was a mess, my physical health wasn't much better, and I started missing work more and more. Seeing my state, Tyler suggested we move. I hated the idea of running away, and I didn't want to leave while Emily still misunderstood the situation. Even so, when I thought this situation would continue, I just couldn't take it. Eventually, we decided to move. As I was searching for apartments on my phone, I got a call. The screen showed Sarah. Honestly, I didn't feel like talking to anyone, but I figured I should apologize since I'd been causing trouble at work. Since Sarah sounded really concerned, I ended up telling her everything. I told her that there was a little boy wandering around at night and that my neighbor thought he was my son and even accused me of child abuse.
My neighbor is so stubborn, he won't listen at all. Furthermore, he's started harassing me and it's gotten worse. I'm scared, and now I don't even feel well. That's why we've decided to move. I just can't feel safe living here anymore.
Is your neighbor's name Matthew Larson, by any chance?
Yeah. How do you?
That's when Sarah said something unexpected.
This is my fault. I'm so sorry, Karen.
Huh?
That boy, it's probably Rick.
Are you serious?
I'm the one who left him unattended. But you're the one who's been suffering because of it. I'm really sorry.
Wait a second. Sarah, what are you talking about?
None of it made any sense. Why would her son be wandering around near our place? Was this related to when I ran into her at the store?
Does Matthew know you work at City General Hospital?
I think his wife might have mentioned it to him.
I thought so.
What do you mean?
I'll explain everything. Can I come over right now?
Right now?
I know you're not feeling well and I'm sorry to bother you. Though, never mind if you don't feel like it.
Well, it's fine.
I wanted to hear what she had to say and to clear up the misunderstanding.
Okay. I'll pick up Rick from daycare and head straight over.
She hung up in a hurry. Not long after, Sarah showed up with Rick. Rick looked up at me and greeted me, with his words still slightly slurred.
Hi there, Rick.
I then turned toward Sarah.
Sarah, how did you find my place? I was worried because you hung up before I could give you the address.
Oh. Well, there's only one apartment complex near the grocery store that matches your description. Besides,
She trailed off, avoiding my gaze.
Well, come on in. I'll make some coffee. Rick, would you like some orange juice?
Yeah.
Rick answered cheerfully. As we sat down, Sarah began explaining the situation. What she said left me utterly shocked. At first, I couldn't believe it, but if it were true, it would explain Matthew's behavior. It turned out that everything had stemmed from him. While I was processing what she said, Rick got bored of watching TV and stood up.
I'm gonna go outside.
With that, he ran toward the door.
Wait. Rick, hold on.
By the time I caught up, he had already opened the door. That's when it happened.
Gotcha.
Standing right outside was Matthew. Startled by his loud voice, Rick stepped back. I quickly ushered him inside and stepped out to confront Matthew.
I knew it. I just saw that kid coming out of your place.
Matthew grinned smugly.
Of course, you did. He's my guest.
Don't play dumb. That's your kid, isn't it? Come on, just admit it.
He's not my child. He's my coworker's son, and he's your child.
What did you say?
Matthew's smug expression froze, his face suddenly pale.
He's the child you had with Sarah Hill.
I stepped closer, meeting his stunned gaze.
Don't tell me you've forgotten, Matthew Larson. You were dating Sarah Hill, weren't you?
His face turned even paler.
I don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of her.
Sarah was over the moon when you proposed to her. But you cheated on her with a younger woman, broke off the engagement, and disappeared, all while she was pregnant with your child. You ran off and married that younger woman, didn't you? That would be Emily, right?
As I said, I never heard of her.
Don't play dumb. Do you have any idea how much Sarah struggled when you refused to acknowledge her pregnancy?
What are you?
You accused me of lying and told me to turn myself in, but now that the tables have turned, you're suddenly all about denial. Unbelievable.
Wait, that's...
Sarah was struggling financially, so she took a night cleaning job at a grocery store on top of her work as a midwife. Since there was no one to watch Rick at night, she had to bring him along to work. One evening, she saw you shopping there. That's how she found out you lived nearby.
That's a lie.
It's true. Sarah told me everything. She wanted to talk to you. She wanted you to meet your child. So she followed you. That's when she saw you go into this apartment building. But then she saw Emily step out, realized you were married, and noticed your wife was pregnant. She couldn't bring herself to follow you any further.
No way.
I told Emily once that I work as a midwife at the City General Hospital. Matthew, didn't you hear that from Emily? You knew Sarah and I worked in the same place, didn't you? You were worried that your past with Sarah would come out, so you decided to harass me. But I bet it never crossed your mind that the kid you occasionally saw was actually your own child. You made false accusations to try and get me out of this apartment building, didn't you?
Wait, do you have any proof that he's my kid?
If you'd like to prove he isn't your kid, you'll cooperate with a DNA test, won't you?
Well, I mean, do we really need to go that far?
If he's not your child, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, well,
At that moment, Sarah stepped out from behind me.
like Karen explained, it's all true.
Matthew's eyes widened in shock.
Matthew, it's been a while.
Sarah,
He was visibly shaken.
why are you doing this? Are you trying to ruin my family?
If I wanted to ruin your family, I'd have confronted you in front of your wife the first time I saw you. Frankly, I don't care about you. But I couldn't bear the thought of your wife going through what I did.
Then why did you send only the kid to my place?
Rick usually waits for me in the break room while I'm working part-time, but sometimes he sneaks out. I guess he remembered coming here once. Maybe, even as a child, he felt something. That's probably how he ended up here alone and got spotted by you.
Matthew sank to the ground, his strength seemingly drained.
Well, I'm sorry.
Do you think sorry is enough?
Suddenly, he started to beg.
Please, don't tell Emily about this.
Sarah and I exchanged glances. She shrugged, a look of exasperation on her face. I looked down at Matthew and said,
Is it because you don't want to ruin your relationship with Emily and the baby she's carrying?
Right, exactly. Please, I'm begging you.
That's for Emily to decide.
I think she deserves to know what kind of man you are. If she forgives you, then you can work on rebuilding your family. Don't you agree?
Leaving Matthew behind, we went back inside.
Karen. Thank you.
The weight of all the pain and frustration she'd carried seemed to overflow. Sarah broke down in tears like a child.
Mom, are you okay?
Rick leaned in close to comfort her, looking so dependable at that moment. In the end, Emily didn't forgive Matthew and they divorced. Matthew moved into a cheap studio apartment without a bathroom. Now he is working tirelessly to pay child support for 2 kids. Sarah no longer had to work at the grocery store and could finally spend quality time with Rick. She even managed to take him on their first vacation together, something she'd always dreamed of. They brought back souvenirs and shared stories of their trip, their joy evident. As for me, well, I'm expecting a baby now. I thought being a midwife would make things easier, but carrying a child is a roller coaster of worries. Pregnancy is no joke. Luckily, my husband Tyler is incredibly understanding. He listens to me when I'm feeling emotionally fragile and takes care of the chores when I'm physically drained. I can't imagine how Sarah felt, being betrayed by her fiancé and having to face childbirth alone. Now, Sarah's been helping me prepare for the big day.
Don't worry, Karen. I'll deliver your baby myself.
Sarah is beyond excited about this, and honestly, so am I.